Hello, I'm continuing to go through my statement of values, and I will make more videos about each of these statements actually. So this is just sort of a very brief introduction to my statement. And of course, Project 2045, I hope will go in the direction that I would like it to go, but it's a collective decision. All of these will be a collective decision. So I'm sort of choosing the ideas or the parts of the system that we need to look at, the underlying values, and then we can discuss each one. So here is number 7. A justice system is focused on rehabilitation and reconciliation, not punishment for its own sake. Its obligation to protect society should be fulfilled in the context of meaningful restoration of rightful relationships. So yes, definitely, protection of society is a very basic requirement for any justice system. But so is justice. And America's justice system it has one of the worst outcomes in the world, not to mention one of the highest incarceration rates in the world. So many people who are in jail or caught up in the system in one way or another were already really struggling in some way in their lives beforehand. I think it's something like 50% of violent criminals were abused when they were children, for instance. So people get desperate. We don't have a kind system here. We have a system where you have to do what needs to be done, otherwise you're just a casualty of the system. And not everybody has the capacity to rise to that expectation. So, at a minimum, of course, people are going to be punished, but that shouldn't be the goal of the system. The goal of the system should be to try to restore things to a better situation, to try to restore relationships, to try to help people to become part of society. But after coming out of jail in this country, in many states the recidivism rate is like really, really high, like even 90% or more, such that within 3 years people are back in jail. So it's not, clearly they're not coming out much better than they went in, and most people come out much worse because they feel more and more alienated by society. They've experienced nothing but punishment while they are in jail, sometimes with incredibly long sentences, and when they come out, they have nothing. They don't have good education, they don't have any money, they have a record, and it's really hard to get a job if you have a record. Now, there are organizations that are trying to help, but we have to really change the way that we approach this. We have to recognize that people in jail or in the system are human, and they will respond to real help, to real care. Maybe they should be going through some sort of punishment, but losing your freedom is punishment enough. So if we take away somebody's freedom for, say, 7 years, we have 7 years to work with them. So they should receive counseling, they should receive education as much as possible. We should aim for every person to come out in a much better state than they were when they went in. That is our responsibility, and it would be so much better for us if people came out of jail much stronger and happier, and feeling much more a part of society, feeling much more valued. The recidivism rate would go way down, and these are our sons and daughters who are in there. So we have to change our thinking. And also the system does not help the victim at all. Basically, when somebody's committed a crime, then it becomes, it's taken over by the court, by the system, and the victims are not taken care of in the sense of having any feelings of violation addressed and resolved. So we have to try to change our whole thinking. I would suggest restorative justice, which is based on the Native American way of circles. If somebody's done something wrong, then there would be a circle of people trying to talk things out, trying to come to some way that relationships can be restored between victim and perpetrator. But this is hard for us because we don't have much of a tradition of strong communities. So anyway, that's where we have to look. We have to really think about how to change our whole justice system. Number 8, leadership is a position of service towards the whole. A true leader is the one who is happy to encourage leadership qualities in others and who creates the most opportunities for growth and fulfillment for all people within the context of a strong and meaningful vision for the future. Okay? So we tend to, in America, we tend to put so much expectation on our leader, and we focus on it so much. So that is a big problem for us. And I think we're realizing it, but we don't really seem to have come up with anything different yet. So we need to think about that. We need to not give the leader so much power that they can actually abuse it. And we can see that Project 2025 wants us to move in the direction where our leader has great power and is supported by the people in positions in his or her government to exercise that power over us. So the problem with power, the problem with leadership, is that it's considered to mean that you can control other people. There's nothing wrong with having a good vision for the future and trying to work towards it. That is the good part of leadership. But if you control people and force them to follow your ideas, then that is a problem. If you try to keep people down because they're not following you or your ideas, they're not conforming, then that's a problem. And in the past, it hasn't been quite so bad in America. There tended to be maybe more unity in America because it was all, it was all based on men for a start, right? Essentially white European men. And anybody else, like women and minorities, really didn't have a voice, so they didn't really matter. But there has been a big change, and we haven't really dealt with it well. Obviously, the election coming up in November, because it's now August 2024, the election coming up offers us the potential for a really big change. Will we take it? We don't know yet. Right? So, in many countries, there are a lot of political prisoners. We so want to avoid that here. That is completely alien to any sort of American values. And it should be alien throughout the whole world. But if America decides to go that way, we're really in a mess. So, basically, we want leadership to be much more widely distributed. That would be really good. We don't want people to become dependent on a leader. So we have to rethink our whole understanding of leadership. And that's actually what Project 2045 is about in many ways. The leadership should come from the bottom up. And of course, the actual leader, or maybe president, maybe corporate leader, whatever it is, has a role to play, but we also have to have as much input as we possibly can into our system and our decisions.